All right, how's that look?
That's perfect.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for having me here today. Um, and today I'm going to talk to you about Floodwatch New York, which is a community science program. It's a statewide program. So let's just get into it. So I'm Jess Kuonen. I'm with New York Sea Grant. In case you haven't heard of it, New York Sea Grant is a federal academic partnership between NOAA, Cornell University, and SUNY in New York State. We are one of 34 university-based programs under NOAA's National Sea Grant Program, and we function as a statewide network of research, education, and extension services to support coastal communities. So if you look on the map there on the right, those are our office locations that are clustered around the Great Lakes, Long Island, and New York City. And as Amanda said, I serve the 10 counties that border the tidal Hudson River. I'm based out of Kingston, and that blue boundary is the watershed. And, even if today you're calling in and you're on the Schoharie side of Greene County or beyond, that's all good because the program I'm talking about is a statewide program. So the program and the tool is called My Coast New York. That's the website at the top. And this is a public web tool that functions as a database where New Yorkers can contribute and access photo reports of flooding, shoreline change, and storm damage from throughout the state. So My Coast itself is a private company. It's a subscription service, and there are 7 other states that have this subscription to My Coast, and we communicate with them frequently. And so New York Sea Grant, my organization has partnered with the New York State Water Resources Institute to pilot this tool in New York. And so we're just kind of at the end of the 2-year pilot, but the tool is not going away anytime soon because we're really starting to gain a lot of momentum. So within My Coast, we have 2 photo reporting tools that are activated, and those are listed on the boxes on the right. The Floodwatch photo report is for tracking any type of flooding across the state. And then the Storm Reporter is for documenting storm damage. And I'll talk about those more in a little bit. And so with this tool, when a photo is uploaded, it is placed on a map, it's linked to environmental data, and then it's posted on this searchable website. And I should say that it's also an app that you can download right now on your phone from the App Store. And then a key point that I want to make today is that even though, despite the name My Coast New York, it's really for statewide use. So why are we doing this? Why document floods? As you may know, storms and floods are increasing in frequency and severity. I'm sure you've probably seen where you live that we're getting these heavy rain events that are happening more often. And the tools that we have that we've relied on for planning when it comes to floods, they actually don't look forward in time with climate change. Our baseline conditions are changing, and these tools have only looked to the past. So we're in this kind of funny spot where we haven't quite caught up to our changing weather and climate patterns. And then also, there's no official documentation during and after weather events. A lot of people take photos with their phones. They may upload it to social media, but there's no like one database where this is happening. And so oftentimes a storm or a flood will happen. People take photos, but they're spending all their time recovering and responding. And the events don't get documented all that well. And so the idea is that photos can help complement some of these gaps in our current data. So we really think that photos can function as a great source of data. We think there's a lot of value in engaging community members that are on the front lines, seeing these changes. The nice thing about photos is you can zoom in on a local area. And then there's that saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. They're powerful visuals. And when you use them along other types of data like maps, it can really tell a fuller picture of the story of what's going on. And then the nice thing about the MyCoast website is that these photos become part of the public domain, and they're not just on someone's phone or computer or social media, where never to be really seen again after the event. So this image that is pictured here is just an example of how you can use photos in storytelling. So this is a section of road. It floods frequently. It's right next to the Watershed River. And, you know, you can start to say things like this section of road was inundated 5 times in the past 2 years, even though it's in the 1% annual flood zone. So what that tells us is we're seeing flooding more often. So I know this is like a wordy slide, but I just wanted to point out, talk a little bit about who's involved in our programs. So community science projects, they actively involve community members for observing and in scientific endeavors that can help the local community, can help inform scientists and inform management decisions and policy. So the idea is with MyCoast that citizens, community members are contributing photos as data, and then those help improve decision-making and data products. And as we've been part of this program, you know, we've learned quite a bit about the people that are contributing photos. Often it's concerned residents, people that want to contribute to something useful, people that are just interested in tracking change. A lot of people that have lived through the trauma of floods and again want to contribute something. And then we have a lot of emergency managers, first responders, weather enthusiasts that are already out there making these observations. And of course, community advocates. And then on the data user side, one of our close partners is the National Weather Service. They use photos for improving their forecasts, validating their models. And photos can also be used in all types of model validation. If you've been following, the National Water Science Center has a brand new national water model. And in talking with some of our forecasters, you know, they question the accuracy. So photos can really help them validate what they're seeing and make improvements. And then another thing that we really hope people use these photos for is things like grant applications, community planning processes like comprehensive plans or hazard mitigation plans, emergency management operations, and then, of course, education, raising awareness, and research. So one cool thing that MyCoast does is when you upload a photo, it's automatically placed on a map, and then it's linked to the closest weather station and river gauge data. So in this example here, this was taken in New Paltz during an unnamed storm in April of 2022. The photo was taken right here, and you can see the surrounding river gauges were at either action or flood status. And then if we look at the weather station overview at the time and location that this photo was taken, you can see there was over 2 inches of rain in the past 24 hours. So it's a nice way to add context to just a photo. And I will caveat that, you know, sometimes if this photo along the Watershed River was taken a little further north, then it would pull in the river gauge data from the Rondout Creek. So it's not always perfect, but it does give you kind of a regional overview of what's going on. So if you're not contributing photos, something that you can do is look at photos on the website. And this is something that I'm doing all the time. This is a screenshot of the website. And if you want me to demonstrate any of this after the presentation, I'm happy to do it. But we have, at the top of the website, you can see there's a search reports tab. So you would go here. Once you're on this page, you can use these filters to kind of drill down to what you want to see. The ones that I commonly use are county, community name, and then date if I want to search for a specific event. And so right now I have it filtered to Greene County, and there are 7 reports in MyCoast right now from Greene County. And then another thing you can do is download these reports into an Excel spreadsheet. You can bring that into other software like GIS software, and you can also batch download photos. So to become a MyCoast/FloodWatch New York volunteer, you could download the app in the App Store. It's free, or you can register on the website as well. All you have to do to register is provide your name and email address, and then from there you can start taking photos. So I'm gonna just walk through some screenshots quickly of, this is what it looks like on my phone if I were to upload a report. So this is the home page, and I will admit that it's a little, this tide graph is going to be there when you open the phone. So apologies if you're living in a mountainous area and that pops up. I know it's not ideal. It's one of the limitations of using MyCoast statewide. But to add a report, you would hit this yellow button at the bottom of the screen. Then it would take you to the next page where you would select your report type. So in this example, I went with the flood watch report. Then it brings you to this form where you would select a photo from your library or take one on the spot. The date and the time should automatically, be updated based on the time that the photo was taken, but it's always good to check that this is happening, and then you can adjust it if you need to. And then if you scroll down on this form, there'll be some additional questions that are optional. So things like what's the source of flooding, what's being impacted, if you want to provide extra information on the location, the estimated depth, and then other general comments. Once you're happy with that, you can hit next. And then the final page, it shows where the photo should have been taken on a map. Again, this should work automatically, but it's always good to confirm, and you can just move the map and place the photo if it doesn't work. And then we also have this option where you can upload a report anonymously. So the way these photo reports look, your name is next to it, but if you'd rather it not be next to it, you can always hide your name and then hit submit. So I'll just go into a little more detail on these photo report types. The flood watch report is really meant for tracking any type of flooding across the state. Flooding, the basic definition, it's water on land that's normally dry, water where it shouldn't be. And there's all different types of causes and types of flooding that you can categorize, and we'll basically take any type of flooding. So a river overflowing its banks, if it's an ice jam, flooding. We've had people upload photos of flooding in their basements before. And then these images just show some common types. This, I believe, was taken in Albany. It was a blocked storm drain in like a suburban neighborhood. This is a high water event. I believe that was somewhere in Greene County. And then this is a tidal flooding event along the Hudson waterfront. The Storm Reporter report is really meant for documenting damage after a storm. So damage caused from wind, water, ice, or snow. And so in these examples, you've got damage to this bridge after a flood, down trees and power lines. This was taken during that big ice storm we had in Ulster County a couple of years ago. But people also often upload flood photos to the Storm Reporter as well, because flooding is an impact of a storm, we recognize. And so it really doesn't matter to us which form you use. The Storm Reporter report is a little more detailed. We ask some additional questions about what's being impacted, and those again are all optional. So I'll bring you back to the website again. We have a resources page under like kind of the MyCoast homepage. There's a drop down for resources, and we have flyers, fact sheets. We put out a newsletter 2 times a year to kind of push information back out to the MyCoast community. And we have some recordings of past webinars and whatnot. And I want to kind of draw your attention to these green outreach documents. And if you're confused about why I'm talking about, you know, My Coast Flood Watch, which is it, we definitely recognized that since the name My Coast doesn't appeal to all communities in New York, we did a little bit of rebranding. And so we have these other outreach documents that are meant to be, you know, outreach for communities that don't identify with the coast. So this is one for the Flood Watch tool specifically. You still have to download the My Coast app, but yeah. And so these are PDFs on the website. And if you want, you know, if you work in outreach or tabling or anything and you want copies of these like glossy versions, just let me know. And I can mail them to you. All right, so that was kind of the overview of the program. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we are seeing, you know, with all these photos we're collecting. So I think one of the best ways is to learn from people that are actually using the tool. So I wanted to highlight these photos that were taken on December 18th of 2023. You probably remember that was like a massive storm that came through the area. And Amanda was able to connect me with Nick, who uploaded these photos. And so I just wanted to check in to see if Nick was on the line and if he wanted to talk about these photos.
Hi, yes, I'm here. Yeah, I think that storm was sort of one of the more major instances of flooding around here. We've only been here 4 years, but even in that 4 years, it was more significant than we had really seen, especially so close to our house. That second photo is our neighbor. So we were like, we had never really seen their property flood like that before. Um, and then actually further down the road, I don't know if it was the probably had at least 2 to 3 inches of standing water all the way up to like their garage door that then froze over. So for like weeks, they just didn't seem to be able to like leave their house. But yeah, it just seems to be getting more intense around here for sure.
Yeah, thanks so much. And Nick, can I ask how did you learn about this program?
Through Amanda.
All
Um,
right.
I forget exactly how, but somehow I got word that there was an app, and if um, you know, people were so inclined to that they should report what they're seeing. Um, and I thought it was a good idea, seeing as around here we're just seeing it more and more flooding, and then also a lot of wind damage because it's just perpetually super windy around here all the time now. Um, so there's lots to shoot. So
Right. All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing.
you got it.
Um, it's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and I'll just walk through this photo report a little bit as well. So you can see we've got floodwaters coming over the road. What I like about this second photo is it can really show the value of, you know, undeveloped spaces and how much floodwater um, runs through those spaces. And so if, you know, if you remove the trees, flooding downstream could get potentially worse as well. Over to the right, if you pull up this My Coast photo report, you'll see the tidal. And this was a serious coastal storm. There was a lot of storm surge flooding as well. So you can see down on the waterfront, they were seeing much higher observed tides than predicted. But then we can see here in the rainfall, this is telling us that there was over 2 inches of rain in the past 24 hours, which is huge. And the water level at the Esopus Creek gauge, which isn't this exact tributary, I don't think, but nearby, and it was at 21 feet, which I believe is major flood stage. So if we zoom out a little bit for this particular storm, the image to the right is where we received My Coast New York photos. So obviously this is connected to, or based on people that know about the app and the tool and that are uploading things. But I thought it would be interesting to just compare that to this 1-day precipitation estimate that I pulled from the National Water Prediction Center. You can see there's a bit of a bullseye over the Schoharie watershed right here. And I believe that's kind of aligns with this area right here. Nick's picture was taken, I believe, in this one, this photo report. And so you can start to see, you know, when you combine other types of data with the photos, you start to paint a fuller picture. We received 90 total photos that day, and you can see the breakdown by county here. We got 3 from Greene County, and we got our first 2 from Delaware County that day as well. So I just wanted to take a moment and highlight how groups are using MyCoast. We were connected to the Cortland Onondaga Federation of Kettle Lakes Association. They're like an hour south of Syracuse, and they were getting hammered by a couple, you know, major storms in the past few years. And they have this storm response plan. And when they learned about MyCoast, they were excited to use the tool as a data repository in support of their planning. And so we're just collecting case studies like this because people are always interested in, okay, well, how are other people using the tool? And there's just a lot of different ways that you can use it. And then just wanted to note as well that several municipalities are starting to add MyCoast as a tool to their websites for flood readiness and response and recovery. And we have a couple, I believe, in Ulster County that have added it to their website as well as part of a partnership with Cornell Cooperative Extension. So zooming out once again, just to give you an overview of the program, almost 2 years of data. We have 723 registered users. 265 of those registered users have submitted reports, and then we have 315 reports that were submitted anonymously. We're almost at 1,300 reports from 24 counties, and we recently got our first reports from the Adirondack region as well. So I've already touched on a lot of the kind of challenges and limitations of the tool, but I'll just say it once again. You know, the name MyCoast, we recognize that might not be ideal if you don't identify as living in a coastal area. And again, it shows that tide chart as soon as you open the app, which can be confusing to some people. I did want to note that you really can't search photo reports easily through the app, unfortunately. So it's not like you can pull it up and see what reports have occurred near you. You really need to use the website for that. You can't upload reports if you don't have cell service or Wi-Fi. And that environmental data, while it's useful for kind of painting a regional picture, it's not always perfectly accurate. So the next steps for the program, we have secured funding for an additional 2 years, and we're kind of in the process of deciding, you know, what our goals are for this next phase of the project, what's going to make it sustainable, and how does it provide value to New York State. One really exciting thing that's happening very soon is MyCoast photo reports are going to be added as a GIS data layer to the New York State GIS Gateway. And so that website houses a bunch of different spatial data layers, and you can go on there and you can explore without, you know, any GIS experience. So you'll be able to overlay MyCoast photo reports with, you know, flood hazard area layers and other types of layers to help give even more context to what's happening. So we have started doing quarterly program updates and kind of open forums with our MyCoast community. Our next one will be next week on May 23rd. So if you sign up for the app, you should get the notification, and I can also let Amanda know in case you want to register and join. And we also have a fall series planned where we really dig into, okay, how do we use these photos to help inform our municipal planning processes. We're also going to be working on kind of packaging data and so that we can turn it around and provide it to communities and counties who may not know that all this data is being collected. And then we're still going to be exploring partnerships, especially with state agencies, while promoting its use. So, and I should say too that, you know, even if one day MyCoast goes away as a tool, all this data will not go away. It'll be out there for people to use for whatever needs arise in the future. But that won't be happening anytime soon. So I'm going to end with kind of a call to action. Become a MyCoast or FloodWatch volunteer by downloading the app. And then I also just want to plug, this is really important for us in our messaging, that safety first. You know, always follow safety precautions by your local authorities. Always take photos after the storm and never put yourself in harm's way for a good photo. But having said that, here's a little bit of guidance on, you know, what to take photos of. So impacts to structures and roadways, just like that photo that I shared from Nick. It's really helpful for forecasters and modelers to see the extent of flooding and depth if possible. And it's also, you know, even if it feels like you're uploading the same photo over and over again, it's really helpful to help decision makers understand recurrence intervals through photos as well. So get close to what you're taking a photo of, but stay safe. Landmarks and signs are helpful to give a sense of scale. And we also just love dramatic photos that can be great teaching tools. So I'm going to leave it there. And thank you so much for your attention today. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you so much, Jess. I find that app very, very cool to use, very fun to use. And we don't have any questions at the moment, but one comment came through that says I have to leave early, but I did download the app. So
Yay!
I think just, yeah, just getting out there, spreading the word, sharing it with your friends, and you know, sharing this video, which will be uploaded to YouTube, is all a good way to kind of spread this information around and get more folks involved. I did have a question, I guess, for folks who wouldn't be familiar with this, but way back toward the beginning, one of your slides mentioned that, or we were like reviewing some of the information, and one of the river gauges, you could see what stage they're at. So one was at an action level and one was at a flood status level. For those who are unfamiliar, what is the difference between those two? For action, is that like?
Yeah, great question. So I believe, I'm going to just look at that slide to make sure I'm looking at it correctly. I believe action level means that pay attention and like prepare. And then flood status means, okay, we are in an active flood. And so, you know, then you need to either take action like, or I shouldn't say take action. So I think it's just a National Weather Service definition. So I've seen in like outreach, you know, you're making a taco. So action is like you've got all the ingredients there. But then when it's at flood stage, okay, now we're eating tacos. Now we are actually doing the thing that we've been preparing for. And so it's just to kind of step up the level of preparedness for local communities, I think. Do you know, does that sound right, Amanda?
I think, yeah, that sounds right in my mind. I couldn't exactly remember, so I was, but I think that is on track. I think I was thinking, and I think these are analogous, but kind of like the difference between warning and watch in
Yes.
weather instances.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great. Thank you for answering that. We haven't had any other questions come through, so I think we can be free to go to enjoy our evenings. Thank you so much for hopping on and sharing this information. I'd be happy to share any links with folks who are registered or maybe weren't able to stay on the whole time. If you want to send those over. And thank you to Nick for joining us to share some of that inside information.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Of course. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.